Welcome to Curious Goldfish, a podcast community where music and curiosity come together through interesting conversations with the music makers of our world. I'm your host, Jason English. You can find Curious Goldfish in all the major podcast and social media platforms, and of course, we have all of our content on our website, curiousgoldfish.com. Hey Deist, thanks for your time.
Hello, thanks for having me. Very excited for this.
So it's a Monday. Tell me something good about your weekend.
I got to spend it with my two closest friends, and we all had like a bit of a catch up. We hadn't seen each other for a little while, so that was the highlight. Had maybe too much coffee, but don't regret it.
Well, that's good. Yeah, coffee can help a lot of things. That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time. So I came across you and your music probably over the holidays. I was streaming. There's a great channel on YouTube called Indie Folk Central, and they play just every month they come out with like a playlist of indie folk songs from really all over the world. A lot from Australia, some from the States, and then Europe. And I just remember in the midst of a lot of really good songs, I actually had to go back and play yours a couple times. I think it was called Mountains, which I hope to talk to you about in a minute. But that's how I was introduced to you. So it's a pleasure to talk with you, and I can't wait to learn all about you.
Oh no, thanks. I mean, that playlist was so influential to how things changed for me. Rufus, Indie Folk Central, has been so kind with his support for what I've been doing. And I think if you went back and you listen to that track again, there's so many good artists that he works with and he curates that that's really kind to hear that it stood out because there's so many good things on there.
Yeah, there's really a lot. Well, cool. So tell us a little bit about your story. I think you're in Great Britain now, but you're originally not from there, right?
Yeah, no, I'm currently living. If you're familiar with the UK, it's in Essex, but if you're not, it's not too far away from London. But I was born in South Africa on the east coast in a place called Durban. Very, very beautiful, pretty much like a surfer's like haven, very nice, like beaches, Indian Ocean. It's incredible. I still wonder why my parents moved here and swapped the whole thing around because summer. I was born in January, so I had a summer birthday, and now I have like this really cold January birthday, and just pining for something I used to know. But no, I do love living here. It's really, really, really nice. It's nice to kind of interact with the different cultures and
Right.
enjoy it for what it is because being this close to London, it's quite multicultural. There's so much out there to interact with, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. And how long have you been there?
So I think it's gone into 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah, getting older now.
Yeah. Well, you can't be much more older than that.
No,
Are you in your 30s or what?
yeah, 35.
Okay, cool.
In my gloomy January birthday that just went. That's the. But yeah, no.
No, that's
Yeah,
good.
35.
All right. Well, good. So your name's Deist, but your stage name of you in the group is called We Are All Fossils, which is really interesting. I guess what's the origin of that name, and then what is there a specific meaning behind that sort of sparked everything for you?
Well, it's kind of. I remember I was in between kind of projects with music. I used to do kind of a solo thing, which was a bit more poppier, or I wouldn't say pop in the traditional senses, but just a little bit singer-songwriter with more of those mainline hooks. And I started falling into like love with a whole different kind of music that was coming out, and I felt like a name change was going to be there. And I don't really have the most like easily. I don't have a memorable name really. My full name is Jakob Deist Ulofse, so that's not gonna do that good
Yeah.
over,
Right.
I think even my English teacher got my name wrong, and then just they had a nickname for me that they stuck with, I guess, just to keep it safe. But yeah, so I was going through, I was just trying to like find words that felt kind of right for where I was going. And I remember listening to Sufjan Stevens'
Oh,
track,
nice. Yeah.
my John, my beloved, and there's a
Right.
line in
Right.
there
Right.
where he talks about fossils. I think it's the fossils that fall on my head, something similar to that. And I remember the word fossil just kind of jumping out, and I had a little note, bit on my phone, and I was trying to like, I remember putting all the random like words down. And I was like, well, these things are just poking out, and then it just kind of happened where I was like, I wanted to create a name that was quite unifying, and you could. I think from being so like on my own with my name, it was quite individual. So I wanted to have something that was quite unifying. And then "We Are All Fossils" was the first half of a sentence, like "We're all fossils in the making," is the full sentence.
Right.
But the beauty in that was for me that uh, "We're all fossils" is something which once our lifespan and our time together, has its expiration date, we all end up in the same place, and sometimes we can feel quite individual and not connected as the human race, but effectively we will be at some point in very similar states again. So yeah, it might be a bit
That's
morbid for some
amazing.
people, but I was like, that's a really strong kind of thing. So I could build a project out of that felt really in line with how I was feeling.
That's incredible. I mean, Sufjan Stevens is awesome, right? Like that's amazing. I would love to talk about Sufjan, and so hopefully we can come back to that.
Yes,
But
please.
so is "We Are All Fossils"? Is that like a name of a band? I've seen references to interviews that you've done where you sort of allude to it as a project. I guess
Yeah,
can you expand on that?
I think from the way that it started, I was writing songs and I was interacting with a few different musicians, and labels sometimes do get in the way of creativity. Sometimes you cage your ideas too tightly and they can't grow. Um, so "We're All Fossils" to me it was a project that was just kind of evolving with who was around and who wants to be part of it and who's kind of
Hmm.
just in tune with what's going on. It's not any massive pressures on who's involved or not. I do a lot of the music with my best friends and I interact with them on like the music's like the byproduct of the time we have together, and I don't really ever want to change that too much because it's just I've been in places before with music where you try and create things that you think people will like and they will enjoy, and at the end you just kind of end up in a place where you don't want to be. So "We're All Fossils" is just an evolving project that I don't know what it's going to be, but I've enjoyed what it's been.
All right, that's incredible. And I think the point you made earlier around a community and sort of being connected, isn't that sort of the essence of music as well?
100%. And I think that's we kind of lost sight of that as there's a competitive nature that's come into music, or maybe I'm just a bit more aware of it now, which uh, doesn't really embrace a collective win, not all the time. There's a thing called Ubuntu, which is I think I'm like pronouncing that right. It's something which comes from like African cultures where you all win together, you all kind of achieve things together, and don't know about yourself, but when you've achieved something on your own and you turn around, there's no one to celebrate with. It's kind of a hollow victory. But if you can share it with someone, the struggle and the end result, and if it's good, you kind of it's something you can hold on to. And I think it just propels you to be maybe a bit more giving of love rather than living in a fearful state. But that's my opinion, I guess.
No, that's incredible. And then, as was this before "We Are All Fossils," or as part of it, you did, which I think is a pretty cool project called "Songs for Strangers."
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Because I thought that was pretty unique.
So, "Songs for Strangers" was there's a little bit of story before that, which I'll tell you. Will give you a bit more insight as to why that came about. But I I was in music, like writing my own stuff, but I wasn't too sure if I had a bit. It sounds really strange, but I had a bit of a commitment issue because I'd have all these goals, but I couldn't really piece together the steps to get to anywhere, and it always felt like a little bit of a circle of failure that I kind of found myself in. So I swapped the idea a little bit, and there's actually an accidental thing that happened that made me kind of change my approach. I watched Damien Rice, which is one of my favorite singer songwriters. perform a song on Jules Holland, and I remember just loving it so much. I'm a huge fan of his, and it was a long time that he hadn't released an album, and I was like, okay, great. You know, I was like sitting there. I effectively felt like I had popcorn, and I was just ready for this moment. And funnily enough, I don't know why I did it, but I took a video of the screen, and then I posted it out on social media, or I posted it on YouTube or something, because I felt like it was a real moment for me that I wanted to share. And then the next day, I remember getting like this cease and desist thing from a YouTube or something. Like they're like basically saying you've done something really bad. You need to stop, doing this. But then I saw the numbers of how many people watched it, and I was like,
Right.
oh, but there are people out there who are thinking like me and are interacting in my way. So I thought I'm going to cover the song and just see if I can connect with them. And that kind of like had exactly the same thing. I got connected with a lot of people who had the same moment as me, and we had like our little, like hopefully me and you are going to talk about Sufjan, and we've
Yes,
got this
yes,
like
definitely.
deep love for certain artists, and so I try to then make it so that my commitment thing, I can try and see if I can just challenge that, and I put forward that I would release a new single, no, a new cover every Friday. I used to call the series Fossil Fridays, and that would be my way of seeing if it's a commitment issue. So for a year, I did these covers, and I did it, and I saw all these numbers, and the best thing about it was the numbers didn't mean as much as the connection with the community and the people who interacted. Um,
Interesting.
and then I on the back of that was like, well, I'm going to message a manager of one of my favorite artists, or maybe it was a booking agent of Gregory Alan Isagoff, a guy called maybe Colin Keenan,
Okay.
and he he replied and he said, and this is the best thing that you could hear from someone. He's like, I'm really impressed with what's going on, but these are all covers. They're not about you. Like, where are you in this? And then I looked back and I
Right.
was like, well, yeah, where am I in this? So then I didn't want to lose what I was doing with the Fossil Fridays, with the people who were coming in, because it's hard for them to take the jump from an artist that they know and already love and then come into the world that I'm going to create. So I tried to create a middle point between us where I did like a video, and I just said, like, if you're watching this, send me a letter or an email or anything like that about any story you want, true or false, or you can keep it anonymous, and I'll write a song out of it, and just see how that's going to work. So that's how Songs for Strangers really came about. It was the way to still be connected. And in a weird way, you're writing with the people who are watching your videos, and I think the the aspect of keeping it anonymous was really good, because then you can there's this like truth that that can come through, and there's
Right.
I will never forget those letters that came through. And then I think we released the EP a couple of years later. It took a little bit of work, but it was just a phenomenal journey, and I learned so much about telling someone else's story and how much you want to stick to it, and not jack it up with your own ego, or like
Right.
or like take the wheel a different way. It was a disciplined writing act, but I've learned so much from that.
Yeah. So somebody would just send you a couple of words, a theme, or lyric, like actual poetry or lyrics, or or did it just range like from less
It
detail to more detail, and you had to kind of work off of that?
it was literally just that, whatever you felt comfortable sharing.
Oh my gosh.
And one of the ones that I can share, and it's a really amazing story. There's a song called "Just a Little Spark," which was the end result. But I got a letter from a very young lady who was basically saying, she's at the age of 17 now, and her life is nowhere near where she thought it was going to be, and she had a lot of issues with, the family life, and the kind of things you have as a teenager. But there was a whole different ball game in play as well. There was obviously other emotional elements which were really pulling at the strings. She didn't go into that, but it was very clear that that was going on. And she said that there was a song by Paramore called "Last Hope." I'm sure it's got a song called "Last Hope," and that changed her life.
Hmm.
And that was something which, and I remember writing that that writing those lyrics in there, because I was like, oh, you need to see that you are. Well, to me, it felt like someone who could see a turn and do something, and maybe this will help shape her future into something, being more alert of what the things that she doesn't want in her life and the things that she does want in her life. So, she actually replied on Instagram a couple of years later and just said like, I'm so thankful for the song.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
we follow each other, and I just kind of like every time she pops up, and I just see like happy moments and things. I mean, of course, there's still going to be challenges and everything in life, but it's just I have a really like a warm spot in my heart for her and all that happened, and I feel like I'm just like a fly on the wall of this kind of thing, and it was incredible, really
Oh,
really
that's incredible.
insightful.
So music can be obviously very personal. I would imagine as a songwriter, what's the difference between writing something personal based on experience and observation versus taking somebody else's situation and ideas and trying to, like you said, you don't want to get sort of have your imprint on it too much.
Mm.
What's the difference in that in terms of a process or mindset?
So I developed a particular way to write those songs. I actually tried to use their words, reworked it back, and then would finish them. If it was like a rhyme kind of scheme that I was going to go for, it was they kind of like gave me the rough sketches of what the lyrics were going to be. I just created the melody that I thought fits the notion of what they're saying, because that's the best thing I could do. I was kind of like, well, if I stick close to what you're saying, I'm sure like the aim is near enough correct. Um, so that was that, and the reason why that was useful for me as a songwriter, um, you can kind of maybe try and be too artistic with what you want to do, or you try too smart or too um, pull out something that is just maybe jarring the listener from what the meaning of the song actually is. So sometimes if something comes easy and it's quick, it's obvious and it's good for the song. Don't worry about that. That's okay. If you don't always have to work really, really hard for the result, but that taught me just to kind of be okay with sometimes the answer being literally in the email that was sent to me, and
Yeah,
just going
don't
from there.
overthink it. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So songs for strangers, that are we able to listen to that on Spotify or YouTube right now?
Yeah. Yeah. That's out
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm not sure if I'm not sure what's out on YouTube in terms of, because there was demos that I released for the people who were like, I wanted to show them that the process was happening, so it's not
Right.
just a dead end thing. So I did release them like weekly, just to make sure that, we are still interacting with each other. But yeah, you can stream it on all major platforms and things like that. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
incredible. All right, so it's crazy because if I had to name one artist, but let's do three that are sort of regularly in my rotation of top artists on my Spotify streaming or whatever. It's Sufjan Stevens, Damian Rice, and Gregory Alan Isaacoff.
Well, for you, or
So
did you read my list?
I don't think so. I don't think so. So that's
that's
awesome.
inc-
And
that's
I mean, I could
incredible.
totally see you. Not that you're going to want to be an opening act forever, but at least to start. I mean, you could open for any of those guys, right?
Oh, you know
I mean,
what?
how cool would that be?
Oh, that'd be amazing. I actually saw Gregory Alan Isaacoff play in a room of about 80 people in London.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
it was near enough the empty Northern Hemisphere tour. And I spoke to him briefly. I was so shy. I was so shy. And I just wanted to kind of, in one word, just say thank you for everything without coming across incredibly cringe or something.
Sure. Yeah.
But I saw him like do something with music which was so um, contrasting of maybe Damien Rice. Like the two of they work in a different way. Damien Rice's vocals and the way that he gets to his songwriting, it feels so free flowing and kind of like water that's just moving along, and you end up somewhere and you're like, oh, I didn't see this coming. Not to say that Gregory's as rigid or anything like that, but Gregory uses a lot more traditional instruments, but in a way more inventive way. So I guess they both kind of fill each other's like gaps in a way where I'm like, oh, this is incredible. But I'm so impressed that I say impressed, I just blown away that your list is pretty
No,
much
I
the
mean
same as mine. And obviously
that's
Sufjan.
wild. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, we'll get to Sufjan. So I've only seen Isaacoff open for the Lumineers. I think I have tickets to him later this year. I think at Red Rocks in Colorado, which is
Oh, that's my
one of the
dream.
world's best venues. But what was crazy about seeing him with the Lumineers, obviously I'm a huge Lumineers fan, and so those are big stadium
Yeah,
tours, and it was on the Brightside tour, and it was wild because he was up there with his band,
yeah,
guitar,
they're incredible.
banjo, whatever, and everybody's there pretty much to see the Lumineers, and so
Yeah,
he's opening for this big rock band, and I'm just looking around going, everybody here that's like talking and not paying attention is completely missing out.
yeah, but
It's kind of a shame, but like hopefully that got his name out, and hopefully he's leveraged that. Obviously he's successful, by
yeah.
himself. But that was I'll never forget, like looking around going, these people don't have a clue how talented this guy is on stage right now.
But it's I feel like the thing I love about Damien and Gregory Alan Lyskov is that they're on their own rotation of what they're doing with albums. They don't have a scheme of it's every other year or anything like that.
Right,
And they kind of, I feel like maybe it's the songs that they come and then the album forms and they don't know how much time's gone, but now it feels right. Maybe that's me just putting a lot of creativity or stuff in there, but it's funny that you say about the Lumineers tour because that came here and I wasn't able to go, but I have a soft spot for the Lumineers as well. And I remember I did a cover of, it was like a quick little reel on Instagram of this. I can't remember which song it was now. It was one of the middle kind of albums, not Salt and the Sea, but something like that. And they shared it on their own page,
nice,
and I remember being confused. I was driving in my car, and my phone just kept going like buzzing and buzzing, and I thought it was like a dodgy charger that you need to clean it or something. And then I saw that they posted out, and they do that for a lot of other artists as well. And I think that's such a beautiful thing when there's
right,
these big, big, big artists because they're colossal. The
oh yeah,
Lumineers
yeah,
are so big, but the fact that they share that kind of stuff, and there's these small moments that they give to their fans who are musical, it warms your heart because they don't need to do anything like that. But yeah, I
right,
have a soft spot for them too.
yeah. No, they're incredible. I mean, seeing them live is just
Yeah,
next level. So yeah. All right. So Sufjan Stevens, the fact that you are naming your project after a lyric in one of his songs is incredible. I came across Sufjan. There's a magazine here in the States called Paste Magazine, and they used to release these samplers of all these kind of indie artists on CD, and you would you get the magazine and they'd send you a CD, which is pretty cool. And he came out with an album, I think it was 2005, called "Come On Feel the Illinois,"
mm.
which is kind of a play on word with the state in the United States called Illinois. And
Yeah,
the rumor at the time was he was going to do a CD or an album on every state in the United States. So I was like, okay, there's 50 albums coming out, in the next however many years. And I think he only got to two.
yeah.
He did one in Michigan and then one in Illinois. But yeah, I guess what are some of your favorite songs from Sufjan?
Well, the one I got introduced to was the John Wayne Gacy
Oh, yeah.
track, which was off of that album that I think you refer to as
Yeah,
the first.
exactly.
A friend of mine in South Africa, kind of a bit of a guru for me, someone who always kind of shows me stuff at the right moments of when I'm at maybe a transitional space. He just sent me the track, and I'm not even sure if he said anything before or after. And I had it on repeat. I had it on repeat, and I just thought I was in awe of how he wrote the track, and it's a subject matter which you can't approach lightly at all.
Oh, totally.
And it's such a it showed me something that in music that I was like, oh, you can do something like that, and it's still it's okay. Because for some reason I felt like you couldn't do that kind of thing, but then that opened up the floodgates for that album, which is absolutely incrediable. And
Right.
there's another song off of the Michigan album. I think it's for the widowless or it's
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. It's a long track title name.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Um, for the widows in paradise and the fatherless in Ypsilanti, or I think that's kind of maybe what it's called.
Right.
That had the same kind of core feelings what John Wayne Gacy track had for me, and he did it with a banjo. You often hear a banjo like really fast and showing you all these quick little notes. But that was like a sad, uh, banjo with this kind of really emotive lyrics. And then obviously the big album for me became Carrie and Lowell.
Right.
I thought that from front to back, that album was something that I couldn't stop listening to for that whole year and maybe the year after, because it was incredible. I like how personal his vocals always feel when you hear him.
Right.
There's no denying when you hear his voice. It's very like, oh, this is definitely Sufjan. Um, and yeah, he's kind of a bit of like a genius, I guess, because he has loads of other types of. I'm more drawn to the slower emotive tracks he
Right.
has, but he's got like a big catalog of. I know he's got like a Christmas album that's got like loads and loads of tracks, but if I had to pick the ones that stand out to me, it would be those ones.
Yeah, and I think his latest one's called Javelin, and
Yeah,
I think it's a return to Carrie and Lowell and parts of Illinois, which I love.
yeah,
Like you,
yeah.
yeah, that's great.
Have
Yeah,
you
my favorite on Illinois is speaking of long titles, it's called like Predatory Wasp of the
same? I love that
Palisades or
one
something.
too.
I mean, it's like, okay, how did you come up with this?
Yeah.
About a wasp on the arm, and I don't know, but again, I'm not a musician. I can't sing. I can't play an instrument, but the melody on that is just it's intoxicating.
That's one of my favorite tracks from that album too. I mean, it's the lyrical. The lyrics are so out there that for me, I just start to imagine what's happening, and I'm like, what, and it just kind of it completes itself. But I actually bought it on vinyl, and I went for like the deluxe one because I was like, I need the proper one of this, and it folds out and everything, and
Oh my
all these
gosh,
there's all these pictures that were drawn of the key elements of each track.
was that?
So
Are
weird.
you talking about Javelin?
No, the sorry,
Oh,
the
oh, oh, the
come on,
Illinois one.
yeah,
Oh no way! There's I need to get that. That's incredible
yeah.
because he did the same thing on Javelin. It's like a whole booklet
Oh,
of
wow.
yeah, it's pretty incredible. But yeah, the Illinois album is legendary.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I haven't checked out the new album yet. When you're just on like a different kind of, I've been finding myself back in. There's this album by Ben Howard called uh, is it I forget where we were. I think that's it. It's quite funny that I'm saying that, quite questioning myself. I forget where we were. So I'm kind of, I think it's because I'm in a part now where I'm recording a lot of music again. So you're drawn to certain albums and things that will fuel the right kind of juices for that creativity, if that makes sense. So, but I haven't checked out the new album. I do need to. I know I'll love it, and that will be my year gone for next year musically. Spotify
No, for
Wrapped will be
sure.
like just this song.
No, my favorite on that is it's called my Red Little Fox. Yeah, my Red Little Fox. So
Nice,
check
nice.
that out.
Well, considering we like a lot of the same songs, I'm just going to spin that after we finish this.
No, that's good. That's good. So you in 2023 you released a handful of singles, right? Any ones stick out to you in terms of being more meaningful, or if someone again hopefully watches this or listens to this and is like, okay, which is the track that you want them to kind of start with on the ones from last year? What would that be?
Yeah. So I kind of found myself gravitating towards a bit of maybe a bit more of an evolution of my sound, bit more of a different landscape, because you can create in one place for a while, which I was in for a bit, and then something new just pops in, and it just makes you want to write more and more and more. A track that did that for me was Fire. I released Fire I think maybe September or October last year, and the response to it was really incredible. And it's quite funny because I didn't think it was a big change in my sound or anything. And then I met a couple of my friends, a couple of weeks after it was out, and some people who listen to the music, and they were just like, "We love the new sound," and I was like, "There's a new sound." I was just following what I was enjoying. So I think that's kind of maybe a bit of a coordinates for where the sound's going. I just had a lot of fun in the studio with Mike Curtis, who I work with exclusively, pretty much. On that track, we just pushed a lot of our comfort zones with it, and things that I remember. There was this pedal for a guitar part, and he just said, "Oh, that pedal over there is very it's very hard to tame," because he was recording someone a couple of days before, and he was kind of effectively telling me, oh, it was a long day because of that pedal.
Oh no.
And I was like, about 20 minutes later, like, I think we need the pedal. I think we need the pedal because it's sticking out like a sore thumb now. Like, there's something about it. Why is it coming up in this conversation for now? From how we approached that song from the front to back, it was discovering things without thinking, trying to like quieten the analytical side of your brain and heightening the creative side. And what we ended up doing was he was on the floor having to like tame it as all these effects were coming through. And if you hear the guitar on its own, it sounds crazy, but in the song, it just glued everything together.
Oh
So it
my
was,
gosh.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I reckon Fire is something
Fire
which,
is good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And I did a song with an amazing artist called Tasha Robertson called When I Find You. And that was also a similar kind of process of just throwing paint at the wall and just seeing how much sticks. And also the sign of it going well for me and Mike in the studio, I think, is we can't really tell what the process was. We will just say, I just remember then there being a lot of solutions and not problems. So yeah, those two, I would say if you're out there wanting to try new songs or things. But yeah,
No, that's awesome. So the song that I talked about earlier off of Indie Folk Central, I think it was called Mountains.
yeah,
It's incredible, and hopefully you're going to play that for us after we talk. But yeah,
yeah,
tell us about that and the inspiration for that one.
yeah. So Mountains was actually a song that I wrote, and I couldn't really piece it all together properly. I had all the pieces, but it just couldn't make them fit in time for my first album, which is called The Optimist. And it's strange because I had to learn how to actually sing and play that song. It was actually a lot more simpler, and it just needed less. And in 2020, obviously, that was a very, well, I say very, it's an incredibly challenging time for everyone. It was life just stood still, and a lot of us just we didn't know what to do with that. And there was some damage that can never be changed from it, unfortunately. But Mountains kind of showed itself then. I remember sitting down one day, just late at night, really, really missing music and missing everything about it. Like, I didn't really know who I was from that, as many people going through their struggles would have, the identity gets challenged like heavily. And I was just playing it, and it was more just about it being about hope. I remember just writing, changing some lyrics and some melodies, and being like, "This, I need something to just be kind of a little ember of hope that you can just harness." And I had to work remotely with Mike, and I remember luckily we'd done all the core bits in his studio, so we could add like the kind of textural bits
Oh,
which
nice.
you don't have to be that pernickety about. It's actually more about the vibe and your personality and those bits. And yeah, I was able to finish it off at home. And I remember there's something I've done in that track which makes me. It's like a little memory. So every time I play it or I hear it, there's something that I've put in there to help me to remind me of how I felt in that moment. And I don't know if you remember, but I think Tesla, or SpaceX, they shot up a rocket or something in June or July or something like that. And I remember saying to Mike, "Can you get the audio of that and put it in the
Oh no
track?"
way. Oh
Yeah.
no way.
So in the middle of there's a middle eight where there's just something happening. There's this kind of rumble that happens, and it just goes, and that I've put in there as a little bit of a nudge to me of being like, be thankful for what you have now again with music. And I remember missing so many things, and so I'm so thankful for when that happens. I go, oh, I get to play, I get to see my friends again. There's no lockdowns. There's all these things that you quickly forget of that stuff. So yeah, Mountains was kind of born out of embers of hope, and then amazingly, when it got released, it did that for people who I know, and I think that's the best thing about music when it's connecting with people, not necessarily what you were trying to say, but something that they really want to hear or something that they would love to have in their lives. they can see themselves in the song. And if you could leave space for someone to see themselves in a song, I think that's really, really good creative writing. It's yeah. So I think Mountains, I'm just lucky that the process happened and it's out there. So yeah, I'm just thankful for it all, really.
No, and I'm thankful for it, and I know
Thanks.
thousands of people are. It's really good. Another track that has caught my attention is called "The West."
Yeah.
What's the origin of that one?
Um, the West. Funny enough, when you were saying about Indie Folk Central, that's one of the first curators that took a song was the West, and it was Indie Folk Central. They were like, "Oh, we love this track," and I didn't think anything of the song. It was a bit of a, I wouldn't say a throwaway song. It's something I don't remember really writing. I remember showing it to one of my best friends, and him just going, he gave a response which I was like, I didn't know that was on the cards, but oh, that's amazing. But the West is it's really to do with how you can choose to see struggles and your life. Not like it's always easy. I don't think it's easy at all. But there's a lyric in it when I say, you can save tomorrow or you can relive yesterday. You can drown
Right.
in
Yeah, I love.
sorrow
Yeah, that's
and
great.
or you can feel the pain. Not, yeah, those things are, and they're not necessarily choices, but at some points you can align yourself with maybe thinking about tomorrow in a way of being like, I'm not defined by what's happened in my past, but I can actively put forward who I believe I am every day. If you're just better than what was happening the day before, that's it. You're doing amazing. So to me, that was about inspiring hope, I guess. Again,
No, that's yeah. I love that line. I
oh,
love that line because it can apply to so many different situations. And like you said earlier, music should be personal, and it's funny how people put out lyrics and situations and scenes, and you're able to sort of apply that to your own experience, and either get through a situation or help you think about things differently. So I love that line. Yeah. So
no,
those
thank
two are
you.
great. And again, you've talked about numbers and things like that, but you've picked up a lot of momentum, I think, in the last few months, maybe a little bit longer. And I think on Spotify they show your number of monthly listeners. You've about 68,000 monthly listeners, which is a great
Wow.
number. Obviously, we hope it's going to grow and grow and grow. I guess how recently did you see things kind of taking off for you, and what do you attribute that to?
Well, I released Fire, and I think that was in about October, maybe late September. Sorry, I'm really bad with the dates. I should know when my songs were released, but that kind of just something just resonated. It was just a good time for it to happen. I had a couple of shows booked in and around it. There's some people I work with around the like area who were helping promote things, and it was really all quite organic what we were doing. And I just kind of saw that it was, doing good, and I think you learn after you've released like a lot of songs that that's completely out of your control. So enjoy it for what it is. Don't make plans thinking it's going to be like this tomorrow and like that the next day, or so the only thing I could do that I was going to enjoy to maybe make more people find the music potential was just to release some more tracks.
Mm.
And I then released a song with a Canadian artist. It was my first kind of international collaboration with Genesis Richter. And that was kind of out of the blue. It just worked out that Fire came out, then our track Dead End came out like a couple of weeks like later, and then the track I did with Tassa Robertson came out a couple of weeks later after that. And none of this was really, I was like, oh, I think this is actually really bad. You shouldn't be doing this with algorithms. They'll be like, oh, he seems really needy. And then it just kind of kept snowballing and increasing. And I don't, because it's so new to me, I don't really know what to make of it all just yet. There were some days where I was like, oh, I should be doing more like stuff on Instagram. I should be doing more things on YouTube. And that's quite overwhelming for me. So I'm kind of like slowly putting
Right.
some things together and still just being myself with how I started the process, and just want to do that because it feels like being yourself is just going to be the easiest, right? So just do that rather than become, I think as soon as people talk about algorithms and all that kind of stuff, I check out. It's such a hard thing from a creative point to understand that there's other things at play. Not begrudging it or anything. That's just the kind of world that we live in. But yeah, so I'm extremely thankful for the plays. I'm scared that they'll go and then there's nothing, as most people are. Or maybe it's a glitch, and then they'll be like, "Oh, that streams that you had, we're going to have to take them away from you."
Yeah, right. Yeah,
But
you
yeah,
refresh it, and one day it's 6,000 instead of 68,000. That's
yeah.
like,
And then
it's not
somehow
good.
they send you a bill or something, and you're like,
That's
"What?
right. Yeah,
I don't,"
exactly.
or you have to
Yeah,
recoup all those streams. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm incredibly thankful for it. I think Spotify plays a role for musicians to weirdly validate, where you're going. So if you're applying to maybe support a band and they look at your Spotify and there's some good, numbers there, they might feel a bit more inclined to then take a chance on you. So I think it's kind of effectively like a key that opens a door, slowly. But
No, that's
that's
interesting.
yeah.
And and you haven't. I mean, I don't. Other than some of these curated playlists and things like Indie Folk Central, you haven't really spent any time in the States, right, with your music, right? Just in person, right? So like you haven't. My whole thing is like, I think, am I your first, at least American media outlet to interview you?
You are, and it's incredible because I was quite nervous about it because I was not sure really how it would feel. But then the fact that you like we like the same artists and things like that,
That's
it
right.
just feels like this is so meant to be, which is nice. But yeah,
100%.
I would love to play in America and weirdly, I think the cities that I'm the biggest in, they're in like Australia and America and Canada, and the UK. The UK is like, because I don't have that much to compare it to. I don't know what other countries are like, but the UK is definitely going through a place where the grassroots music and the middle bit before the big bands, it's really like there's so scarce. There's not much support
Oh,
for it.
really
It's really,
interesting.
yeah, it's really a challenging place to be. There's a lot of us that will be in this kind of scenario, and you have to redefine what you think success is, and build the things around you so that there's so many challenges, there's so many things that you get said no to, and so many opportunities that aren't there. Um, but as long as you can just enjoy what you're doing firsthand, and
Right.
those rejections and things like that, they don't stick as much as they could do. But I pine so hard to just go and play in Australia or America. A lot of the musicians that I like Gregory, I think he's from Colorado, and
Yeah, he
Nathaniel
lives in
Rateliff.
Colorado. Yep.
And Nathaniel Rateliff is also someone which I love. I adore the second album he released. It was just Falling Faster Than You Can Run. I think that's what that one's
Mm.
called.
Yeah, yeah. The Lumineers, Nathaniel Rateliff, and Gregory Alan Isaacoff are all based in Colorado.
Oh, I didn't know the
And
Lumineers were as well.
yeah, and again, this is, I hate to admit this, but I lived in Colorado for 20 years, and I don't think I ever saw any of them. That
Really?
was like a different stage of my life. But there's a great album that Nathaniel Rateliff did during COVID where it's a live album at Red Rocks, and
Yeah.
there's no one in the venue,
Yeah, I've watched that on
and
YouTube. I think
yeah,
I think
yeah,
you
it's
can watch it on
incredible.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's really good. Well,
Yeah.
you'll have to make it over, and so I live in Atlanta, and in your style of music I mean, people would really dig it, at
Oh,
least
nice.
in the South here in the southeastern part of the country. So, and the reason I brought that up is you've had some success. It feels like it's growing and growing and growing, but really it's probably just limited to, you know, I guess, listeners and viewership that you come across, come in contact with in Great Britain, and then through these curated playlists, right? So you haven't really even intentionally done any proactive promotion in the United States. So that's insane that you've already curated, that many listeners.
Yeah, I mean it's I I I get a bit blown away by when you put it like that. I'm like, oh my, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of one of those things where you just kind of enjoy the journey of it, I guess. But coming to America, that would be. Amazing. I don't. I'm not sure exactly. I think in the UK the indie folk scene is, which I kind of would put myself in, or contemporary folk. I'm not sure how how you really define yourself, but um, it's not that widely known here to the point where people will know the same bands. So Gregory Alan Isaacoff. If I say that to someone else, they won't
Right.
really know. The
Right.
Lumineers they would because of Ho Hey. That's a big track here,
Sure.
but it's still quite in its infancy. So the dots of everybody hasn't really joined up yet. So I'm sure there's loads of indie folk artists in the UK, but it's nowhere near as big as it seems out where you guys are. I think you guys are
Yeah.
like the promised land now. Just need to get there.
Well, no, what's cool about the Indie Folk Central too is they play a lot of artists from Australia,
Mm.
and not that Australia can't make great music, but I never kind of made that connection, and so I appreciate that because it's just it's great exposure to artists that you would never otherwise have heard of.
Yeah.
So the podcast that I do here, it's all about interviewing interesting musicians and hearing about their stories. A lot of it has to do with sort of this idea of curiosity. I guess at this stage in your career, in your mid 30s, what are you most curious about?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that. Um, I'm curious of what the kind of next project for me is really gonna uh, not going to be, because I'm kind of near the end of writing all these songs. I've kind of finished the demoing and extensive kind of like working through a lot of tracks, and it's going down a different uh, place for me. Um, it's something which unfortunately um, I, I I lost my mother 2 years ago, and that really changed me as a person. And grief is a very uh, tricky place to understand and navigate. Um, and that's kind of I've been going through a process where my music's always been quite introspective, and it's always been going through all these things. And for me now, I'm at a place where I feel like the next part of what my stages are in grief is just to kind of let go of the control of what I expect of things and just let it kind of be. So in a weird way, I feel like taking a step back and just doing, not perceiving what's going to be, and then just that being it. So I'm excited to see what comes from that. I don't know. I actually feel a bit nervous because it's doing things in a whole different way of what I've done before. Musically, I'm recording a lot of the stuff here at my house, then taking it to mic, and then we're shaping it into what it's going to be. So I'm allowed to be way more experimental here because I'm not worried about wasting Mike's time in the studio, because he's incredible. He works with amazing artists and he always makes space for me, which I'm always so thankful for. But I'm going in there showing him something, and yeah. So I guess I hope that answers what you've asked.
No, that's cool. I guess can you tell me more about that? How do you know it's going to be so different? Or
Um,
in terms of, is that the songwriting process, or is it the type of music that you're experimenting
yeah.
with?
So a lot of the tunings of the guitar is
Mm.
not standard, which most of the tracks I've released would be standard tuning. So from the initial stage of writing the songs, there is loads of detuned guitars, and I've experimented with loads of like tunings like that, and that's changed the way that I would kind of write the lyrics and vocals. I don't think it's going to be. It might not feel that different to other people, but for me, the process from the beginning has got a different, ingredients. So I think that's that, and I've kind of got into more of the production side of music. My dream would be, if I can't go and play shows around the world, which that would be the dream for all musicians. If I can't do that, I want to work a little bit more from home and
Mm.
be more creative. Because I can't always go out and play shows and do those things it's a real dry couple of months in January and December. So, the production side I've included, and the best thing is you can hear something in your head and now you can translate it straight away if you know how to get there. But when I'm working with someone and you're just trying to explain a feeling of a sound, you sound a bit crazy. So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot more of honesty and myself with who I am now in the songs to come. Or at least that's what it feels like now.
That's incredible. Are you planning a new album in the near future? What can we expect in 2024 from you?
Oh, that is exciting. I don't. I
Besides
don't.
coming to the States some way somehow.
Yeah, I've got like a whole US tour coming. It's going to be massive. No,
There you go.
I I I would like to say yes to that, but the reason why it's hard to say yes is I was trying to release an album from 2019. And that process was hard because obviously, going through COVID and working through that kind of stuff, and you change as a person, especially after grief. So I had an idea of having this plan, and an album's going to come out, and all these things, and having to let that go and be okay with those songs. I'm putting away quite a lot of songs that are finished because I can't relate to them anymore.
No way, really? Wow.
Yeah, so it's not I can't finish the process because the sounds of the instruments don't sound like right anymore, or it's quite pernickety, I guess. But so I would like to say that there will be an album, but I think for now I can definitely say that there will be a single.
Okay.
Because I just finished that, and it's been mastered and everything, so that physically has got to a point where I can get there. But I'd like to say there'll be an album. All the work that's allowing that to be a possibility is in motion. So, yeah, I just don't want to repeat a mistake of being like for 3 years saying there's going to be an album and then just shelving it.
No, we'll take what we can get for sure. So if it's one at a time, if you drip it for the next few years, we'll be anxiously awaiting for sure.
Yeah, no, that's very kind. That's very kind.
Yeah. So I really appreciate it, Deist. It's so nice to meet you. And I think there's a guitar behind you. Would you mind playing us some music?
I would love to play you some music. I'm going to play Mountains first. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for making all this happen. It's been one of the nicest Mondays at my house that I've had for a long time. Not like it's bad, but you get used to the coffee routine and stuff like that. So this was a nice little bit of spice. Thanks.
No, thank you.
I strolled into the darkness. Seems my mind wanted to keep me alone. I wasn't scared, if I'm honest, though my eyes started to see the foes. Oh, every day and everywhere you could see a new sun rising ahead, up through the air to calm the seas. You could tear down your mountains and leave your mind at ease. Then I saw the smoke. It rose high in the air, sealing up our hope. But if we dare to dream, I'm sure we could see a new sun rising again, up through the air to calm the seas. You could tear down your mountains and leave your mind at ease. You could tear down your mountains and leave your mind at ease. Ooh. Ooh.
So good.
Nice. Thank you. Do you want me to? Is it time for another one?
Yeah, there's time for another one. Maybe two more, but I'm not going to get greedy.
Well, I'll play the West. Let's see how that one goes. Can't take the water, you can take the wine from our souls. You can drink it dry, but you can't see the storm. It's coming from the west. It's been howling for days. You can see the sun, it's leaving the bay. Ooh. You can save tomorrow or relive yesterday, or you can drown in sorrow or feel the pain. You can see the storm is coming from the west. It's been howling for days. You can see the sun, yes, leaving the bay. You can see the sun, yes, leaving the bay.
Deist, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Best wishes in 2024, man. Let's keep in touch, okay?
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Yeah. All the best for 2024.
Cheers.